Welcome to the LiftOneSelf podcast, where we break mental health stigmas through conversations. I'm your host, Nat Nat, and we dive into topics about trauma and how it impacts the nervous system. Yet we don't just leave you there. We share insights and tools of self-care, meditation, and growth that help you be curious about your own biology. Your presence matters. Please like and subscribe to our podcast. Help our community grow. Let's get into this. Oh, and please remember to be kind to yourself. Welcome to the LiftOneSelf podcast, Krystal. I'm so thankful to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Nat Nat. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm ready for the weekend.
Me too. Me too. It's been a long week. I guess it had a lot of challenges. And then Sunday, I'm doing my first in-person event. So there's some excitement, some fear, some, oh, what's going to happen? Like anything that you create. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with that.
Will you join me in a guided meditation so we can ground ourselves in our breath?
You know I'm up for it. Yes, absolutely.
Great. And for the listeners, as you always hear me say, safety first. So if you're listening to this while driving or requiring your visual, please don't close your eyes. And if you're feeling too relaxed for whatever activity you're doing, then just fast forward over to our conversation. Yet I encourage you to come back and do this mindful moment for yourself. So, Krystal, I'll ask you to get comfortable in your seating. And you're going to gently close your eyes. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. And you're just going to breathe in and out through your nose. Don't try to control your breath. Just be aware of its rhythm and watching it go in and out through your nose. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up in the body. It's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop into your body. Just keep your awareness on your breath. There may have been some thoughts or memories coming up, and it's fine. Just gently bring your awareness back to your breath and drop deeper into your body. Just stay with your breath. Continue staying with your breath. Now, Krystal, in your mind, I'm going to ask you to create an intention you want to bring forth in this conversation for the listeners and for ourselves. And when you've created that intention, I'll ask you to release it in your mind, allowing it to drop down into your nervous system, down your neck, through your throat, down into your chest, filling your heart, filling your lungs, going down into your abdomen, down into your stomach, into your life force. And still staying with your breath. Still staying with your breath, allowing that intention to surround your energy field. And dropping deeper into the body. Now, while still staying with your breath, at your own time and at your own pace, You're going to gently open your eyes while still staying with your breath. How's your heart doing?
Wonderful. Wonderful. I love those meditations. Taking a pause out the day, and it actually changes your voice. I don't know if my voice now sounds calm from all that excitement that all that energy. I'm going to bring it back. But yeah, I like that. I like that. The awareness. I think that's the really big key. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't realize how fast our mind is going or how our nervous system's looking for safety, looking for control. And we can forget to not, take a moment and pause and just check in with ourselves, redirect the sails, redirect the energy. Like we may not be able to control the wind, but we can control the sail and where it's going to, take us.
Mm, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because our neural energy is very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us are stuck in our head and we don't take enough time to drop into our body and feel our sensations and emotions and feelings.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of thinking on that, a lot of pondering going on with that. So it's
Tell
pretty
me
cool.
more.
Well, I've been taking, enrolled in this other emotional liberation master class, and it's 90 minutes. It's like an accelerated class for a month, 2 days out the week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, for just 90 minutes of breath work, 90 minutes of really talking about the things that we're insecure about or that trigger us. And you would be like 90 minutes of doing all of that. You know what I mean? And it goes by so fast because it's like, oh, I've been wanting to do this and I haven't allowed myself or given myself the permission to do these things, you know, and to do it in such a way that's liberating, healthy. And then you don't feel so bad afterwards, after handling all that, because that's what we're running away from. We're running away from the pain. We're running away from bringing those feelings up. And that's the first step. And it's just been amazing. I'm just thinking like, wow, why haven't I caught on to this yet? But I'm there. I'm there.
Yeah. These are the simplistic things that we weren't afforded at a young age. And a lot of us were separated from our emotions.
Hmm.
So we didn't know how to process it. Now to come back into the body and feel these energies and these sensations and feelings, it's like, and then see how sometimes our behavior looks very immature, yet our mind will be like, that's not the way to behave, where it's like the body's like, I just need a space to express. Can you just let me let this stuff out? Um, and so, thank you for sharing that and allowing people to see, what your inner work is and what you are committing to and the space that you're creating for yourself. Like that in-person event I'm doing on Sunday is called Give Yourself Space.
Mm,
And it's about feel, breathe, let go. And how I start all these podcasts is in this grounded meditation. It's in the breath. So it's coming back into your body and creating that safety. Because a lot of times we don't want to pay attention to the body. You're inconveniencing me. I don't have time to feel this. I got other things and yada.
hmm.
Where it's like, well, I actually have some power and some energy. You could actually amplify the things that you want to do and actually remove the things that you're doing that you don't need to be doing. Yet it takes coming into that body to really better, relate to yourself, which can be challenging, and it's a journey to come back home.
Yeah, look, I can tell that's your brand. Okay. Every time I talk to you, it's about space, 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 space. I love it. The commitment and just the power that you bring with it. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's like your brand identity. That's kind of what I do. So I love it. I love that. I'm all about it.
Yeah. It took me like a few years to embody what I'm speaking. So when people feel and they're around me, they're like, oh, like you're not just talking some kind of theory or textbook, or you're actually living it and I can feel it. And it's like yeah, the embodiment is allowing the messiness. There is
Mm,
no perfection or performative. It's okay, let's see what's going to show up and let's face it rather than run away or numb it. Yet at times we have to because it's just too overwhelming for our nervous system. And that's where we hold space for ourselves. That's why we need radical compassion. Because how
yeah.
we show up with all this stuff is we don't always can't always control our behavior when the emotions hijack them. So it's like, okay, let's create the tools so that we can create harmony with it all and hold
Mm,
space for ourselves.
yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting that you brought that up because how we work in our professional lives is completely different than how we work in our personal lives. And I took this trek on this IT consulting journey for about 8 years and I actually wrote a book. And it's, quote unquote, 8 chapters long, but it's dedicated to each year in that consulting time frame that I had and what I learned. And when I came out of it, I was like, if I worked on myself as hard as I worked at that job, right, and applied those same principles to myself, I would be just as, quote unquote, high performing, if you will, or happy, satisfied, or what the elation that I felt as far as succeeding in whatever was thrown at me. Because, yeah, when you go into consulting, you don't know what you're going to get into. You don't know what the state is going to be. Things are going to kind of go off the rails a little bit. Risks that weren't supposed to happen are going to happen, and you got to pivot, you know? And I remember just being, it was effortlessly. I could do it beautifully. But when something like that disrupted my life personally, my personal routine, traffic wreck. Okay, see now this messing me up because it's taking me 30 minutes off my day. Now I had everything ticked down to the T, right? It would throw me into a chaos. And I'm like, why can I not function the same way? And that was like what I was thinking. I was like, ah. So that became the premise of my book was how did I apply these professional principles that made me really, successful. And how do I transform them into like personal guiding principles? That's what I love it.
I got ahead because, I love being in your energy and connecting with you. It's so easy to have conversations. Yet for many listeners, they're like, okay, Nat, who is Krystal and who are you talking to? So could you let the listeners know a little bit about who Krystal is?
Sure. Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm just an everyday person dealing with everyday stuff. But if I was to describe myself, I am coming up on 20 years, 2 decades in the data management professional world. And I'm starting to transition to an emotional resilience career coach, a published author and a blogger. So I'm moving into that space, taking my energy and my skills and kind of spreading the love. What I'm doing.
Love it. And what was that defining moment of the pivot to go into the inner world?
Mm. I think I think it was almost always there. It just was building up. It was building up because you're always waiting for that moment to actually say, okay, I'm ready to transition. And I was thinking, I've always had it. And I can remember the first moment where I started to do the transition, if that makes sense, where versus when when I actually took the change, it was like I started walking up the hill to the change. And I remember this moment. And I remember my job was, I was traveling throughout the week. And my daughter, she would miss me throughout the week. So I have 3 kids and I have my husband. And I remember being at home one weekend and we were just hanging out with my daughter. And she had to be like 4, like she was still in daycare. She said, "Mom, why you can't stay here? Why can't you find some work here?" And I said, "Well, I'm trying to make a living for us. You see this house? Don't you like living in this house?" She said, "Yeah." "Don't you like all the things I got you and all this other stuff?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's why I do this. That's my sacrifice is to go off to work." And she goes, "Well, if that's the case, well then I don't need all that. Then I don't like all that. I'd rather you be here." So when she told me that, that stuck with me. And I said, okay, I need to start making the transition to be home, to meet the needs of my family, like what's important, right? Because you can find a way. We put it in our heads that I have to be like this, do like this, and this is the way it's going to work for me to make this living and this life for my family, all the while, and then justify saying, but I'm missing out on the most important things that they're having day to day, right? So I started in my career kind of building my own brand. And it was kind of like I was testing the waters, like, could I really do this? Like, could I really develop programs? Could I really coach and mentor folks? And there was this program at work, and I basically became, this high profile coach of this resource pool of individuals. People would come and want to work for me, and then they would leave better. You know how when they say when you leave someone, you want to leave them better than the way that you found them, kind of thing. And I started doing that, right? And I started imparting information and changing that, I guess, the stigma or the realm of people being a threat, right? Of you hoarding information because, oh, if you share that with them, what are they going to do? They're going to be better than you. They're going to do something else. And I started saying, no, 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 no. I want to, if I had to, I want to create a bunch of mini me's, right? I want to impart all this knowledge because if it was all on me, then I will never be able to be there for the other people in my life because everyone's going to always pull on me, you know? And so I did that. And I think when I decided to go off on my own at this particular company, this is very important. When you're branding and creating your brand, you need to analyze your company, whether it's your own company or the company that you work for. What are their values? And are they living up to them as they say they are? And you know how they always talk about harassment, and when you go to work, every year they make you take these harassment videos so they can check it off to make sure that, hey, we did it. And I was just in this 1 6 month period. I mean, I experienced every piece of that kind of scenario of harassment. And I mean, I saw it play out. I saw being the one to stand up, like being the whistleblower, quote unquote, or whatever. And I shouldn't get retaliation on that. And I'm going to get all the support. No, I mean, it went so high up the chain that so many people were involved in it. And I said, I can't be here. And I felt bad because they removed me from the space of the people I was protecting. I had convinced these people to speak up. I got you. I got them all together and everything like that. And they moved me away from them.
Mm.
And it was hard. I mean, it was heartbreaking to have to leave them. I couldn't talk to them. I couldn't do anything with them. And they're like, what do we do? I said, I can't even talk to you. Right. So I know the power that I held at that moment. And I knew the power that they held. And I said, nah, I got to change that. I can't be here at this company, but I can change it in my own. So let me create my own. And that was really the true defining moment, right, for me.
So many listeners probably got a little triggered with that because they can see themselves in a scenario being in an institute where they're, saving face by saying, oh, yeah, we do all this, but behind the lines, none of that is being done. How did you meet yourself with the heartbreak, the anger, the frustration, the confusion? How did you hold space for yourself and not allow it to, drown you or dim you in a way that you weren't able to like really take that leap for yourself?
That's a good question. I had to look back, and I'm gonna go back to one of our conversations, authenticity. I really had to look back and say, wait a minute now, Krystal, who are you? Who are you? Did you really let them down? Or did you help them speak up and see what's really there? And that they don't always have, like, people don't have to need your presence for you to have empowered them, right? So there was a lot of good in my presence and the activity that I did and the network that I built because it wasn't when I left, they didn't blaming. It was so much appreciation, you know? And I had to focus on that because I was too, at one point, I was just focused on the fact that I left them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all the bad that could come from that. And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't, I was almost shutting myself off to all the appreciation that I was getting from the people saying, I see now. Thank you. Let's go out. I developed an enormous amount of network from that. And I thought about it and I said, wait a minute now, because that's who I am. So I'm not going to apologize for standing up. I'm not going to apologize for being in a position where I could not, my hands were tied, because whatever I could do, I did do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And whatever I did do was leave a legacy. And that's all I wanted, right? Because they know me and my legacy is left there. So I think that's how I met myself. And at that point where I always said, okay, wow, you're more than what you think, baby girl. You know what I mean? It was really empowering, a real empowering moment.
Yeah, it sounds like you came into a space of believing in yourself and trusting yourself,
Very much so. Very much so.
where we're
Self
led.
trust.
Yeah, it's a big journey to go into that if you've been severed from it. And also, what came to mind when you were explaining that, a lot of us, because of religion, we've been indoctrinated that there's this one savior, and we're just going to worship and follow whatever this one person is saying, and they're going to make it all right, and they're going to do the fighting for me and all this stuff, where it's like, I'm waking you guys up to know that you have power within yourself, and it's us in a group, not just one person that's going to disrupt these systems. So that
Hmm.
takes its own work internally, because the abandonment and feeling the rejection, if we've ever felt that deeply for ourselves and then see it for somebody else, all we're seeing is the negative. We're not able to open up and see the positive of what is their work. You just continuously think you got more work to give to
Hmm.
them, where it's like, no, 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 you did what was supposed to. Yet that is its challenge in itself.
Yeah. That's hard. That's a hard road. It's a hard road, but you got to, I mean, it's a committed road too, right? And to me, it's about emotional resilience. It, it hu like that is my brand. That is everything that when I write my books, both fantasy and business books or what have you, when I coach, it's about literally career mental health. No one's ever put those two words together, right? Career mental health, not just mental health in the career.
Yeah.
It requires an emotional or an enormous amount of emotional resilience. And people say, well, what's that? Well, when I first heard the word resilience, I was like, oh, it means strong, strength. And then I actually looked it up, but it's the ability to, like you said, navigate and be flexible to be able to stretch beyond different limitations, but to also manage. Be emotionally intelligent is to know your feelings.
Mhm.
Being emotional resilient is to be able to manage them in challenging, in states of duress, right? So that it does not negatively impact you and impact your peace, but it doesn't negatively impact just who you are and how you present yourself, right? Because some of us are unique in a way. And I remember someone telling me this, uh, just as a Black woman and any person of a different ethnicity, we have a unique power, a unique superpower that one of us can walk into a room and immediately represent the entire race, right? You can walk into a room, and if you're a professional and this and that and all the good and whatever else put together, they're thinking in their head, oh, this is what the rest of folks in this place is like, and then on the flip side, if you come in there, another way, a different way, they'll think that negative way. So I think presentation. I know representation is important to see people who look like you in positions of power or of influence for sure. But presentation is also important. You don't have to speak well, right? But as long as you can touch people and it's authentic, you're good. You're good. You know?
It's that relatability, that,
Hmm.
what you're speaking isn't just performative, it's something that you're living also, and that you're working through. Because living doesn't mean embodiment doesn't mean that it's perfected. It means that you're always engaging to do it better, to be able to face the messiness, the mistakes, the things that make you cringe, and you're like, "Oh my gosh." Yet you're willing to be there and face what those sensations and feelings are, like you said, the emotional intelligence. Because in the career, your emotions are not validated, not
Nope.
one iota, and that's where a lot of people get the burnout and,
Yes.
have the suicidal ideation and all this, because I'm needing some validation, yet I don't think I have the power for that. So I'm going, externally, which, yes, if you're in a healthy, environment of, a business that understands mental health, there'll be a space of, okay, let's, speak about these emotions and see where there's solutions, not in a way to berate. Yet most of it is just, no, 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 this is what you do and that's it. We don't business about your personal life. We don't business about what you're feeling. Just get the job done. And it's
Hmm.
like, whoa. And you can do that for a certain amount of time, but after a while, at a certain point, your body's like, "Psst, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
And the reason why I do my business is because my body went, "Psst," and shut the F down. Um, and I wouldn't want anybody to have to go through what I went through. So anything that I can do to help, come back home, come back into your body, come back into the power that you have. Yeah, I
Hmm.
know we're lured on the outside that these things and accolades and success will all give you that absolute power of arriving somewhere.
Yeah.
And you get them
Hmm.
and you're like, why is it still now turning the page and I got more stuff to do?" And it's like,
Hmm.
"'Cause there's no arriving." It's
Yeah.
like, "But
Yeah.
it's I didn't know I was the donkey chasing the carrot. What the frick is this shit? Like, you let me into this bamboozled friggin' space." And, that is the hard wake-up call where a lot of people have faced in career.
Hmm.
'Cause, it's really it's very challenging not to take it personally when something is going on and then nobody at your workplace is checking in on you.
Hmm.
But when they need you and there's things going wrong with the job, oh, your phone's going off the hook. But
Yeah.
now that you need some help or some space, oh, no, 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 we don't got time for that. And that's a hard realization to wake up to.
100%. Yes. Yes. A lot of people do this. A lot of people do that. And you're right. That is my mission too, is to help people avoid that. I don't want anyone to go through what I've had to go through. And there's a lot of people that have a different mentality. They're like, oh no, I didn't. Oh, you can do it too, kind of thing. And it's like, whoa, but was what was done to you right? Did it really make you, because it made you bitter,
Yeah.
made you resentful because I was there. That's how I know that that's what it is doing to you because I was bitter. I was resentful, right? You change the narrative. If you're going to, raise the future leadership and lead them, you need to go ahead and change. It-
Mm.
Recognize it with yourself first, right? Because you can see it. People can see it. When you can see when someone is in a position of leadership, you can see how people react because they're reacting out of fear. They're acting out of fear. They don't approach them. They don't do anything. I mean, I've seen people who were like women. Okay, when I'm saying people, I'm talking specifically women. Okay, because I know what they had to do to get to the position they were in. You know, and I'm trying to come at them in a way that I'm like, I understand you, sis. Like, but listen, and they're coming at me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, are you on something? Because that's how they are. They're very like aggressive, and not in the way I'm not talking about a woman aggressive. I'm talking about aggressive, like as if I offended you, aggressive. Like I'm questioning your capability, aggressive. Like, like I've offended you. And it's nowhere near that. but you have those blinders on because of, like you said, triggering. People have questioned you in the past because you've had to do and jump over these hurdles, and now I'm in this position, and you're going to come and ask me, and it has nothing to do with that. And so you have to really navigate just who you're speaking to with as well, the audience, and that changes because you're meeting different people over and over. You can't approach your same target the same way every time. You can't do that. You have to be able to, and I have this what I call a 3C approach, but you have to be able to connect, comprehend, right, and create your credibility in that order. I say in that order. No, you can't do credibility for it's got to be, you have to be able to connect with them, right? When you understand something that they have said and you restate it and say, oh yeah, and apply it to something that is personally related to you, you create a connection now. I've linked up with you. So now listen to what I'm saying because now I'm credible. It works every time. I work across countries globally. Works every time. Doesn't hurt for me to change how I speak to you, to create a network, to create a link. Are you kidding me? Right? We're both growing in this space. But, to force somebody to accept how you're speaking to them in a certain way and then try to cover up with, well, no, I'm not. I hear that a lot. And it's like, you guys have to learn how to shift your tone, shift a lot of things because people, like you said, it's emotional, it's triggering. There's something there and you've missed it in what they have said to you. You've missed it and you've ignored it because you've prioritized yourself over that person in that conversation. Yeah, we want to prioritize ourselves, but not when we're speaking with another person, right? Because we're equals now. We're equals, right? It's a give and take. So it's a balance, and it's just some of those things that when I talk to different clients and things like that, we just break it down. We just break it down. But it's like you said, it's heavy in the corporate world. It's crazy there, crazy, crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot of bumping and power struggles.
Mm,
Now you mentioned aggressive in women and Black women I want to bring
mm,
to the forefront because you gave two different definitions of aggression. Um, and I think at times the stance and the directness of colored women in the business can feel very offensive to people. And you showed that part. I'm not talking about being direct and being firm on something. I'm talking about the aggression of the insecurity, the anger, the bitterness, the sadness, the fear. How did you, because now that you recognize you've done your own inner work, so how did you befriend that emotion of anger so that you can hold and connect and recognize it so that you can shift to see the space and not get tangled into the back and forth of that energy? Because anger likes to tussle. And
mm-hmm,
yet if you face anger, it will diminish some of its power of being defensive, and then you can use it as aggression of being direct and being able to communicate to find solutions, not defend that it's only my way, if that
mm-hmm.
makes
Perfect sense. Great question. Got an answer. All right. So
sense.
I was leading projects at this point in my career. And like I said, I got all in my little book, but I remember on two different projects, I got the same feedback at the end from my lead, where they said, Krystal is a great lead, but she needs to work on her communication. It can come off, even though she's right, she's coming off as condescending in emails, in conversation, in any form. And this will stop her from, achieving the next level. When you hear that twice back to back, you kind of got to stop and be like, wait a minute. Yeah, And these were people that, one, validated me. You see the difference? They didn't criticize me first, they validated me. And
Mhm.
then after they gave me the feedback, they gave me support. They wanted to see me grow. A lot of people will just give the feedback and they won't say why. They won't validate that you do, doing this or they won't validate people. And that's what my thing was, is I needed to be validated. I didn't need to be questioned anymore. I wanted to be validated. And when that came the second time around, I stopped to think and I go, wait a minute. I am. That is true. Right? I am coming off very pretentious. I know I am right. I know that they're wrong. And for some reason, I need to make it clear. Why? Why is that so significant to you? Well, because people have been challenging my intelligence my entire life. Right? So now I've made it. I've made it to to the big time. And everybody's going, no. And then I was like, well, why? Why do I need to know? Don't you know? Aren't you satisfied? You know? And then I stopped and I said, wow, I really am bitter. I really am resentful. And that really is holding me back. Not only just career wise, just I couldn't, it was a block in my relationships with my children, with my parents, with anybody that I interacted with. It was a personal block because I was always on the defense. Right? And it's like, no, everyone's not attacking you. These are people who don't know. They're learning from you. They're allowed to ask if you were willing to teach. And I didn't realize that being a lead, you were also teaching. So yeah, it brought all of these things up. And like I said, I had to hold the space. If I did not give myself the space to really reflect on that feedback, I would not be talking to you right now. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I wouldn't be branded emotional resilience, right? And I couldn't connect with other people who are going through the same thing because I haven't realized it. So yeah, it took me a moment, but it took feedback, and it took feedback from people who really cared and validated me. The validation was really important part that really said, okay, let's think about this girl, you know?
Yeah. You had this safety and trust
Mm,
that you're not here to harm me and belittle me and push me down. And what struck me too is when you were like, "Oh, who are you to question me?" That also comes a lot in, Caribbean or
mm,
colored families. Do as you're
mm-hmm.
told and don't question me. Don't
Yep.
question authority. Where it's like, well, how am I supposed to know why I'm doing the things that I'm
Mm,
doing?
yes. Look at me. We at the church. Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. Ugh. My children. This works with children. I'm telling you. I have okay. If we got time, I'm just gonna tell you the
Yeah, yeah.
story. But so my husband, he's very much like that. And I'll tell him, Donnell, you gotta explain. He's like, I don't have to explain to them. They my kids. And I said, well, they need to understand why you're telling them this because they will remember it and you won't have to say it again. Right? Or whatever. So one time, there's two times with one was with my own son, and the other one was with another lady's son. Okay. So first time was my son was we were trying to take baseball pictures and he was out running. He kind of got far away from the group and he was running around with one of his other baseball teammates and they were near some woods. Okay. And I don't want to be the mom, but I was like, come on over here, come back, come back. And so he came on back and he said, Mom. And it was like in front of all these adults questioning me, Mom, what was wrong with me playing in the woods? And I said, if someone was to grab you over there, do you think I could get you? And he said, no. I said, well, then that's why. And he goes, oh, okay. That was it. End of story. Right? All the other kids heard it and all the other parents heard it. So that message reverberated to him and everybody else. Fast forward, we're at another baseball game and this other lady, we were kind of chit chatting and her son was coming up to bat. And before she come up to bat, she goes, hey, why don't you tie your shoe? And he's like, no. And so I go, you sure? Because like if you hit the ball and you run, you could trip and miss the base, right? And he goes, oh, and he went down to tie his shoe. And his mom goes, well, why'd you listen to her? And he said, because she gave me a reason. She explained it. Simple,
Hmm.
simple, right? It works with children. It works at work. That's why I said, wow, this stuff transcends across the lanes, baby. It
It
works.
does. It does. I know the listeners are now like, okay, where do I find Krystal? And what is this book that she keeps referencing to? So can you let the listeners know where they can find you and the title of this book, please?
Sure. So I'm promoting it right now. So it's in the works. We're in the late stages of editing and design and all that good stuff. But look for it. It's Embrace the Code, Cultivating Emotional Resilience in a Tough IT Culture. All right. And I will link you guys up. You can find all that information on my website at movingwithmeaning.com. Everything, all my podcasts, all my social media links, all my good stuff, my blogs, and everything I love to share. I'm an overshare. I'll be putting stuff up there all day, passing them out.
And for the listeners, it'll be all in the show notes because I do understand we're in a society that we don't do too much research unless it's really invested or you are a person that does research. So it's all going to be clickable and you will be able to get access to Krystal right away. I have a reflective question to ask you. I'm going to ask you to take your awareness right now and to go back to your 18-year-old self. And you have 3 words to tell your 18-year-old self to carry you through the journey to right now. What would those words be?
It would be commitment, authenticity, and unwavering. I think those 3. Perfect for me.
Are you willing to share what your intention was at the meditation?
Sure. So my hope is that the listeners find inspiration and empowerment to navigate their own journey with a resilient spirit and an unwavering commitment to authenticity. That is the key to lasting success and a genuine connection with others. That's what I got.
As always, it's always a delight to connect and to deep dive with you and to have like this open, safe space to really, reveal ourselves and share our truths and, share our different perspectives. As any listener can hear in what you shared, you've done the walk of the talk that you're giving. So I want to thank you and give you your flowers while you are here and say how much I appreciate the alchemy that you've done in your life and the impurities that you've gone through, that you've transformed them into gold, yet you're not just keeping it for yourself, you're sharing it with others. So thank you for the light that you bring into this world, Krystal.
I accept, I appreciate, and give it all back to you, baby girl, because you good here. Thank you so much for having me, Nat.
Please remember to be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, you made it all the way here. I appreciate you and your time. If you found value in this conversation, please share it out. If there was somebody that popped into your mind, take action and share it out with them. It possibly may not be them that will benefit. It's that they know somebody that will benefit from listening to this conversation. So please take action and share out the podcast. You can find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under LiftOneSelf. And if you want to inquire about the work that I do and the services that I provide to people, come over on my website, come into a discovery call, LiftOneSelf.com. Until next time, please remember to be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.